1 Soviet tank. 43 German Panzers. They hit him 156 times. He destroyed 22 of them, and never moved. Picture yourself trapped in a metal box. Heat hits 120 degrees. The stink hangs thick, burned gunpowder, sweat, oil, smoke. Every few heartbeats, boom, a punch like iron cracks the hull near your ear. That noise? A Nazi 37mm round hitting steel. Few could take it long. Some teams might have quit by now. Not him, though. Zinoviy Kolobanov stays put. Still sitting in his tank. While others run. He watches. Waits. August 1941. Forward rolls the Wehrmacht, slicing deep into Soviet land. Leningrad teeters near collapse. German spirits run high. Speed drives them, sharp plans guide them, overwhelming force backs them. Near Krasnogvardeysk moves the 8th Panzer Division. Tanks number 43. Half-tracks trail behind, 8 in line. Infantry follow by the hundreds. A lone tank sits ahead. Hull number 864 holds 5 soldiers. Their command demands they stay, whatever comes. The crew has buried the vehicle in wet earth, leaving just the top exposed. In the hour that follows, shells strike its body 156 times, each hit aimed true by enemy guns. Yet still, it fires back, knocking out 22 German tanks before silence falls. It isn't about chance. Built on precision, shaped by science, this tank defied collapse. The KV-1 just kept moving. That day's bloodshed makes more sense once you see how desperate the Red Army felt in 1941. Everything was falling apart under Stalin's leadership. German tanks surged forward without pause, 50 miles each day, relentless. Because of this pressure, Soviet leaders tossed every available unit into battle, just hoping to slow things down enough for Leningrad to breathe. Time mattered most when nothing else did. Snow slowed tanks down, that much Zinoviy Kolobanov learned during the war with Finland. Fingers stiffened when handling ammunition in freezing cold, something he saw too often. His experience wasn't built on theory, but time spent inside steel machines breathing diesel smoke. Battle taught him how metal behaves under pressure, not textbooks. Cold ground changed movement patterns, made sound travel farther than expected. Most of what he understood came from watching engines fail where they shouldn't have. Survival meant reading terrain like handwriting, noticing small shifts before others did. Demoted once, then removed completely, accused of talking too much with the other side. Strange twist, given his next move. Once shells began falling, though, Moscow scraped up every driver it could find. Handled 5 machines. Sent west, close to Voiskovitsy, where roads pinched tight. Stop them there. That was the message. Step back, bullets follow. Let gaps open, fire reaches Leningrad. Kolobanov studied the map. There, a narrow road cut through the marsh. Soft mud stretched on either side. Any tank stepping off would vanish into muck. That stretch became a trap waiting to snap shut. Not only did he leave his tanks out in the open. Instead, he arranged them in an old-school L formation. Hidden behind cover were 2 armored vehicles held back, while 2 others pretended to be targets. At the front point stood his personal KV-1, buried partly so its undercarriage, most vulnerable spot, stayed shielded. Silence followed. Yet what truly stands out here is not merely the soldier. The steel beast beside him shares equal weight. One day in 1941, German soldiers expected more of those old Russian light tanks, T-26s, BT-7s, just rolling metal boxes, really, nothing strong. Heavy machine guns punched through them like paper. But then came the KV-1. Built under Kliment Voroshilov, who ran Soviet defenses, it looked like something from another age. Imagine a giant crawling out of thick mud. It tipped scales at 45 tons. Heavy steel guarded the front, 75 mm thick, toughened against hits. Inside sat a diesel engine, 12 cylinders forming the W2K, strong at 600 horsepower. The turret faced threats with up to 90 mm where it counted most, near the gun opening. Firing power came from a 76.2 mm ZIS-5 cannon, ready and mounted. Picture this. Germany's main tanks in 1941, like the Panzer III and early Panzer IV, carried either 37 mm weapons or weak 50 mm guns. From half a kilometer away, that smaller gun could pierce only around 29 mm of plating. Then there's the Soviet KV-1, wearing thick 75 mm steel all over. Run those numbers any way you want. What looked like firepower was just stones bouncing off concrete. Shells hitting the armor broke apart or bounced off. That force made the hull vibrate sharply, sending metal fragments inside, hurting hearing. Still, the machine kept running. Taking out a KV-1 back then meant using an 88 mm flak cannon or getting struck head-on by heavy fire. This fact wasn't new to Kolobanov. Confidence came from knowing his vehicle could withstand most blows. Inside, extra rounds were packed, twice what crews usually carried. Most of that load? Armor-piercing rounds. Slumped into the gunner's chair, he kept control close. Trusting someone else to aim, never crossed his mind. To Nikolai Nikiforov at the wheel, words came slow: stay still. Whatever unfolds, wait for my word. Engine off till I say different. 20 of August. Sun high. Earth shakes underfoot. Into view comes the 8th Panzer Division. Rolling forward in close formation down the raised road. On one side, wetland stretching out. On the opposite edge, more marsh, silent and still. Unseen eyes track their progress. They do not know they're seen. Out comes Kolobanov, holding fire. The bikes roll by. Then the scout vehicles go past too. Only when the front tank lines up just right does he act. Distance reads 150 meters. That close, a 76 mm round cannot miss. A loud crash hits the front enemy vehicle. Fire bursts out right away. Movement stops down the line. Crews believe it's a buried explosive. They pause to check what happened. Kolobanov swings the gun housing around slowly. His sights lock onto the final machine in the row. A blast tears through the back tank without warning. That moment changes everything. Stuck ahead, blocked behind, the Germans can't move. A tight path cuts through the wetland, nowhere to go. Fear spreads fast now. Officers yell, voices cracking under pressure. Vehicles attempt reversals, yet treads lose grip on the raised trail. Down they tilt, swallowed by thick mud. Suddenly, shells explode from Kolobanov's tank. Inside, Yusov feeds rounds like clockwork, 6 seconds between each. One after another, German tanks catch fire. Instead of rushing shots, they aim low and precise. Turret joints freeze. Tracks snap apart under focused hits. Each strike cuts through armor where it's weakest. Out of nowhere, the muzzle flash catches their eye. There it sits, the KV-1, half hidden by trees. One after another, every working German tank swings its barrel toward Kolobanov. That moment marks the start of something terrible. A shell strikes the KV-1. Another follows. And then one more. Within the hull, sound erupts beyond words. Floor shakes as if thunder lives underneath. Blood drips down faces, from noses, from ears, sound has punched through bodies. Glass cracks into spiderwebs, periscopes splintering without warning. Radio sparks, then silence, broken beyond repair. Yet the outer shell stays strong, refusing to tear open. White scars bloom on metal when German rounds strike, hot trails fading slow, but nothing breaks through. A voice roars across the chaos, fire again, hit where vehicles stack tight. Half an hour passes during the battle. Then a round from Germany strikes where the turret meets the hull on the KV-1. That hit breaks the electrical system meant to turn it. Without power, the rotating part gets stuck. Kolobanov faces a fixed weapon. For aiming, he must tell Nikiforov, his driver, to pivot the full weight of the 45-ton machine with track movements alone. Left track. Halt. Shoot. Right track. Freeze. Now fire. Each command drags like iron chains across stone. Like watching something massive stumble through smoke, swatting at stinging shadows. Behind him, what remains of the enemy convoy lies scattered, silent. Fires dance across the wetland, lighting up the dark. Thick smoke forces Kolobanov to aim only at shadowy shapes glowing within. When his armor-piercing shells vanish, another type takes their place. High explosive rounds follow, these cannot punch through armor, yet the blast alone might tear wheels loose or stun men inside until they fall still. The heat presses close, relentless. Silence settles after the last shot fades. Into the trees slips what's left of the enemy foot soldiers. Along the path sit charred remains, 22 tank carcasses scattered like wreckage. Up pops the hatch on Kolobanov's vehicle. Cold wind pours into the dark interior. Out he steps, boots hitting dirt, eyes moving over every dent and scorch mark on his steel companion. Something about hull number 864 screams storm survivor. Gone is any trace of paint. Pits and gashes cover the surface now. Counting begins among the crew. First one mark shows up. Then another 10 appear. After that, 50 come into view. Soon they reach 100. Finally, 156. Every hit landed hard, none broke through to where the team fights. 1 hour near Krasnogvardeysk turned deadly because of Zinoviy Kolobanov's trap. His unit wiped out 43 enemy tanks before the clock moved further. 22 fell just to his own gun. Time slowed, yet that pause gave Leningrad breathing room. Days passed while he held back the 8th Panzer Division. Only fitting that such an act earned him the top honor available, Hero of the Soviet Union. That never came through. His record carried old marks, doubts about loyalty, questions left open during the rush to pull back. Instead of glory, they handed him a lesser award. The Order of the Red Banner dangled on his chest like afterthought. A strip of cloth stood in place of recognition, for holding a whole city together. After surviving the war, life slowed for Kolobanov in Minsk. A job at an auto plant filled his days. That morning battle, stopping a whole army by himself, he kept it buried. Still, experts remember. Ballistic specialists have studied the records too. What happened near Krasnogvardeysk revealed something sharp about tanks: precision can outweigh numbers. A single wolf built from 75 mm of solid steel won't be stopped by numbers. It doesn't matter how many sheep charge at it. One after another, they fall. Strength isn't always about size or speed. Sometimes it's just material. Toughness wins when everything else breaks. The moment matters less than what you're made of. Jump into WW2 Uncensored. Stories pulled straight from the muck, no digging needed on your part. Could Kolobanov actually be the top tank commander ever? Drop your thoughts down below. Catch you in the next dossier.